Our platform, we've been building it. So this it's a vision that comes going back a long time, but the next generation of technology is going to be B2B platforms and really kind of this single pane of glass. And so where this came out of is built a company called RapidScale, sold that to Cox Communications, their largest cable company. We built some software and tech. And the reason why we have these partners here and some of the AI wrapped into it is to tell a story around the value of where the future is around kind of managed IT optimization, and speak to some of the partners that we have that actually are doing optimization through AI and using AI. In that story, we'll walk you through our platform. We'll do a quick overview, and then we'll turn it from there over to our partners to come and sit down, and we'll do it kind of that engaged conversation around technology. If you guys have any questions, please ask, okay? Because it's always good to get your guys' feedback or questions going throughout this too as well. And then from there, we're going to produce a video from there, but I'm going to cheers to you.
Cheers.
Because this is some hard work getting back into it. So the platform is built for IT optimization across the board. So there's a gap between the buyer, the provider, and then managed optimization. And so the busier the world's gotten with IT teams and the more it's outsourced, you see this concept and this disengagement between optimization or sourcing. So sourcing, one-time engagement. But a lot of times companies grow between a sourcing project and then the next contract term. And so what are the terms of the contract? How does that look? How do I engage a customer? And so how do I manage ongoing optimization of my compute or ongoing optimization of applications or ongoing optimization of my expenses? Or how do I mitigate my risk of expenses related to AI-driven fake bills, which is a big issue. And so it's an issue Phil got hit with not too long ago prior to engaging him. Prior to engaging him, I've known Phil for 20 years. He's one of the founders of the company. He was at a $4 billion company. He ran IT for that company. And he was my client. And I was doing a project for PwC back then. It's called Alaris Consulting. It was a very successful project. We saved a bunch of money. We did a large scale strategy. And I've known you for 20 years, and I'll let you dig in on your background. But what we're going to share with you briefly is what we built, how it's a value to you, the customer, and what that value is. And then ultimately, this concept of managed IT optimization or unmanaged. And what we mean by unmanaged is a lot of people take software, but it's shelfware. And so they're looking for somebody to deliver the story to them that they can take the executive team. And that executive team can go, okay, you know what? You're managing optimization of the environment. And the bigger you get, the more spread out you get. Very few people touch into the data and actually make decisions off the data on a consistent basis because they get stretched. And there's a subset of different people that work within IT. If it's applications or network or mobility, it spans across multiple facets. So we're trying to build this story to where you live in this single pane of glass for supplier analytics, supplier insights, FinOps and optimization of compute and optimization applications, resource expense supplier. And so that's what this story has been built. And so I'm passionate about this story, driving that to the United States and flying, but telling the story again, no different than I did, in 2010, trying to build a company, and it became amazing company. It's still around today. It's one of the most successful companies for Cox Communications they've ever bought on the communication side. It's called RapidScale. So the benefit of Procure IT is we will build software. We will build a great story. And I think I'll leave it to Phil to kind of talk through that story right now. And we'll do this about 10, 15 minutes of sharing this story with you, and then we'll have the partners go.
Perfect. Please. So great to meet all you guys. So Phil Ben Joseph, former operator, if you will, running enterprise infrastructure. So when I look at the platform I'm about to show you guys, it is purpose-built. It's built for people like myself that need to actually manage the environment, see what's going on within the environment, and provide insights to the office of the CIO and CFO. Executive dashboards, as well as driving down into insights to help you see what's going on within your environment. So this IT procurement platform, the way we're going to start is I like to start with the contract management module. Contract management module is we assign as the onboarding process, we work with you, assign a client experience manager, a project manager, to ingest all of your contracts with all of your suppliers. Each one of your contracts has associated suppliers. So first thing we're going to do is work with you to build a dashboard, understanding your landscape, understanding your contract terms, your commitments, your layout, what your annual recurring charge commitments are, what your monthly recurring charge commitments are, so you can see very quickly, here's my landscape, here's my commitments, and the red dots on top basically are the milestone commitments. So if you don't notify the supplier by that date, automatically an evergreen clause kicks in and you're due for another term. So it's important that you're seeing this information and managing all this information. Below is devil's in the details. This is where we kind of see the details behind the contracts, seeing what's going on within the contracts. You as a customer, as a partner, would have direct access into these areas for managing everything. Over here, we put in the MRC, the ARC, time commitments, evergreens, and then we capture also any files and assets that are associated with those contracts. Assets can be physical or virtual components that are associated with them that we have to collectively manage as IT professionals. We then take this contract management component and from there build in our supplier insights module. Supplier insights is where we get news and profile information on all of your contracted suppliers. Currently have a list of about 550 suppliers within our database that we're bringing in news and profile information on a daily basis. So here you can see a grouping of all suppliers, and then you can actually go down and see, I just want to look at my contracted suppliers. Who do I have supplier contracts with? What are my profiles for them? And then better yet, click in supplier news. And what we're working on next from an AI perspective is you'll be getting a weekly summary of all your AI news for all of your suppliers in a succinct email, so you can review, see if any actions needed, any security concerns, any financial concerns, especially during your renewal efforts, renewal times, and things like that. As part of the efforts, when you're turning on new services, we then have our project management component. Project management, if you notice the theme here is stay within the platform, single pane of glass. So as you buy new services, as you're turning up new services, we want to engage, we want to establish a project with you so you can be buying a new UCaaS solution. What does it look like to bring on, do the analysis, figure out what it costs to actually implement the solution as a whole, get into the turn up, activation, decom of the legacy environment. We want to capture each one of those task items within a project plan, assign the appropriate people to do the work, and make sure that work is getting done. So one, you're taking advantage of your new contract terms and commitments. More importantly, you're getting off of those old services that you need to turn down. Maybe you're paying too much, but worst comes to worst, we want to make sure you're not double paying for services. So engage in the project management module as much as possible, and we're driving that home for you. We leverage what we call the IT data pack here. The IT data pack is a central repository for all of our reporting functions. We want to make sure that as we're working with you, we have a common data repository where we can store all of our meeting notes, our Zoom, our Ring Central, our meeting minutes, our recordings, as well as your contracts, as well as all the terms, conditions, so we can actually do analysis there, as well as any analysis we may be doing for different projects for you as a whole. So everything is within that single pane of glass. You have the ability to upload, download, access, and manipulate the files. As we get into the premium modules, we then have our SaaS FinOps module. SaaS FinOps is where we tie into a client's environment. We tie into your single sign-on, basically your identity provider. So whether it's your Azure environment, Azure Entra, Okta, Google G Suite, we're going to tie into that environment. We're going to bring down all of your sign-on information and your credentialed information into various applications within your environment. So over here on the top section, you'll see all the various applications. In the lower section, you'll see the list of users and how often those applications are actually being hit from a single sign-on perspective. Gives you part of the story. And then SaaS utilization right here. This is great during renewals because as you're renewing new terms and conditions, here's an example for Lucid, for example. On Lucid, I can show in October, I had 4 active connections. In January, I had 4 active connections. But if I'm time for my renewal and I'm all of a sudden realizing, wait a second, I have 10 accounts that I'm licensed for, but I only have 4 people logged into it. What's going on here? What do I need to look at? Gives you the ability to do fact-based decisions. Understand how your users are using the environment, what they're doing in the environment, what applications they're leveraging single sign-on. And then, better yet, you can look at some of the stuff and say, well, using Zoom as a good example over here, I can see how often people are logging into Zoom. And the Zoom is a great example of how people are logging into the application, leveraging single sign-on credentials, but it doesn't show the whole story. There's a lot more data that's around an application. So what we've done was we built this concept of supplier analytics. Supplier analytics, and I'll start with UCAS over here, Zoom, gives us deeper insights into a particular application or a particular technology stack. So over here, we're tying in to specific Zoom, and the first screen we're going to look at over here is around commitments. So it's around the overall commitments. What is your contract terms and conditions? What did I commit to, and what am I using? So over here in the middle section, you can see bought a biz plan. It hosts 29 users. I'm only using 18 users. Base level environment, understanding what my usage is, what my commitments are. High level. Second is the Zoom Analytics. Zoom Analytics is where things get fun. You actually get to see how people are leveraging the platform. What's the user adoption to that platform? And what do you need to basically understand what users are doing or what they should be doing? So over here, I may hover over a user and look at that, and I can see how many meetings they've held, how many participants as part of those meetings. So I'm not getting into the intrusive data of details on who is joining those meetings. I'm giving metrics of this is how many meetings, basically the overall usage and analytics of the platform as a whole. And I can see here very quickly how people are leveraging it. Lower section calls by person. So over here, I can look over here and see myself. I made, in this case, 2 outbound calls or 2 inbound calls, and 2 outbound calls. So over here, if I'm looking, how productive is my team? What are the solutions? What am I expecting from them? So if I have a sales associate, that sales associate, I'll use one of our users over here, Manami. And we can look at Manami for January, and she had 8 inbound calls, and she's the beast over here with 118 outbound calls. So we can see how much she has going on and what she's doing within the environment. As we look at that, we can then tie into that and see Zoom users. This is where we can look at the users, see when they last logged into the environment, and I just did a quick filter, and these top users over here show me days since they last logged in. And I can look at that and 2 things. One, I can optimize the environment because these users haven't accessed the environment in X period of time. But more importantly, maybe they have back-end access to the application that could be an attack vector or data leakage. So we want to make sure that we're removing these users in a timely manner. Any questions so far? All right. The other supplier analytics module that we have is around Office 365. So as we go into Office 365 and those users that leverage a CSP for Office 365 licensing know how difficult it is to get your licensing information and spend in one common area. So literally when we were building this module, it took us a few hours just to collect the information to be able to understand it so that we could report on it. So as we're working with clients now, it's giving them a single pane of glass to give one, how many users in the environment, what's the monetary commitment based on your specific spend, based on your specific invoices with your CSP. So we're bringing that in, looking at the data. We look over here and see waste. How much are you actually wasting in the environment? Waste is relative. We call it waste because it's unused. There's a lot of reasons you may have unused licenses. Maybe you're hiring 5 people in the future, 100 people in the future. So they're there as metrics for you to look at to make sure you're not just sitting on licenses unnecessarily. Next on that one is user analytics or user analysis. Each time we look at optimizing the environment, it's all against a user. How are users using the environment? So over here, I got my 2 top users, let's say Alexa against Andrew. And you can see over here, Alexa, we're paying $12 a month, and Andrew, we're paying, $35 a month. So we can hover over those licenses and see specifically what's going on, what those licenses are, and so forth. Outside of that, go back over here. We've got our Cloud FinOps practice. Cloud FinOps is the practice of helping clients drive a culture of transparency and accountability on their cloud spend management. We tie into AWS, Azure, GCP, as well as Oracle Cloud. And the first thing we want to do is tie into the environment. Lower right is your daily spend. Lower left is your monthly spend. So it's the belt and suspenders of your environment. We want to make sure someone's monitoring this stuff on a day-to-day basis. So if there are any anomalies, someone's monitoring and escalating this before you're getting the invoice at the end of the month, end of the quarter, or so forth. So we want to monitor this stuff for you actively. So top section shows your forecasted spend, and then we can get into details from a cloud FinOps practice of how we actually manage this and monitor the spend and getting into the data points. So over here, I can monitor. And so if you're interested in the cloud FinOps practice, happy to dig deeper and dive into those areas. Last area to spend is our technology expense management component. TEM is around helping our clients get a handle on invoice processing. I did some consulting with a company over the summer, and I got called into an investigation. They got taken away for about $300,000 on about 5 different invoices because they were brought in fraudulently, but they were so well done leveraging ChatGPT or Gemini. They were so well done that the AP department actually onboarded those clients, actually worked to get them engaged, and then pay 5 invoices without the proper approvals because of the way it was communicated forth. So they were taken, they had to deal with their own insurance companies, dealt with the FBI on the analysis. And so I did the forensics on it, and it was amazing what was done to actually get through the system. So what we've done with the TEM platform is offer a guarantee to our clients that we're going to process invoices for you. We're going to look at those invoices, and we're going to work with you to understand your coding, your cost allocation reporting, your GL coding, and then we're going to take responsibility for proper payment to those various vendors and suppliers on your behalf. So we can pass you the code allocation so you can bring that into your ERP for cost, basically cost management. And then second, you can we could pay those bills for you and just give you a payment feed on those bills. Last but not least is our support mechanism. Support, we have we'll have a component here for AI for analysis and insights, as well as KB articles. And then over here is where you can escalate any support requests to us for new service, new modules, any kind of questions you might have, or better yet, escalations to providers that you're having issues with. So that's ultimately the platform, guys. Everything's built with AI first, strong, secure background, SSO integrated. And if there's any questions, happy to answer for you.
So Phil, why did you build it? Why have you been behind building this? So what's the purpose and what problem did you solve in building this? Because clients such as Korn Ferry, New Balance, Nike, they've been your clients in this optimization journey since running a $4 billion company and trying to figure out how to optimize that company. So how does it play now in what you built, and how are partners and clients taking the platform now and using it? What's in like a 2-minute kind of a synopsis? How are they using it today, and what are you seeing that's coming back to you in value, back to the platform and back to them?
So number one, and transparency. Transparency spend, transparency and accountability of your overall contract terms, commitments, and from an IT exposure perspective, making sure everybody's on the same page. One of the greatest things when I was working for a previous company, Advantage Solutions, I had a great relationship with procurement team. Unlike most IT partners, if you will, I got all my stuff done because I built a very strong relationship and a trusted relationship with the procurement team because they knew I wasn't hiding anything. And so this is ultimate transparency in showing everything from a contract spend management perspective. Second to that is the ability to actually see everything in a single pane of glass. So that before I had a cloud FinOps practice, that was one tool. I had SaaS, which was another tool. And then I had other solutions for managing all these components, but I was going through all these dashboards. I didn't have a way of bringing everything together. And third to that, if I managed this stuff on my own, if I didn't have dedicated people, the tools I would use, better yet, the tools we displaced in the past by doing these solutions, they were shelfware components. I've had clients in the past that spent thousands of dollars, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars on solutions that they never put resources against to deploy and to manage. Or they deployed it once, but no one ever managed it again. So this is now, as a managed service, we're delivering this with a cadence and meeting with our clients on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis to talk about this, to make this stuff front and center.
So it's truly managing IT optimization, providing the tool set, managing it out of a single interface.
Absolutely. You have the tools, you have the managed engagement, and now you have the collaborative environment to work not just with us in terms of client with us, but actually within your own 4 walls. You're working with IT, AP, procurement, finance, office of the CIO, office of the CFO, coming together in unity.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Cool.
Yeah.